That's the microphone's off, and I'm going to make sure that the microphone is on today. How are you today? It is November 4th, 2025. My name is Joey Ragona. Welcome to the show. It's Heart-Centered Marketing, and we are in part 2 of a 7-part series today. Welcome to the show. If you're here live, let me know with a hashtag live or a hashtag replay. If you're watching the replay, I'd love to know that, and still come back and answer any questions, feedback, or anything you have after the show. But it's always weird when I say that. But here, anyway, we are live right now, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I want to share with you today. First, let me tell you what's been going on. Last week, I started a series, and they're all going to be connected. The last week, we talked about the dream client definition, which is the calibration phase. There's 3 phases of what I do in my heart-centered marketing when I'm teaching anybody, coaching anybody. There are 3 phases. It is the calibration phase, it's the connection phase, that's the marketing, like how do I find clients and all that stuff. And then the communication phase, which is, well, how do I talk to them to buy my stuff, that kind of stuff. So we're going to go through 7 different areas. Today is the crisis, which is part of the connection phase. Next week, we're going to talk about the problems and the pains. We're going to talk about the desires and the needs in episode number 4. Number 5, the value promise. The oasis comes next at number 6. And finally, in number 7 is the jobs to be done. And this all relates to, hopefully my iPad is all set. All right, cool. This all relates to this dream client canvas, which I gave you last week. And that's not, there was a whole bunch of mess up there. Okay, let me get rid of that. There we go. I will clear this out. Clear the page. All right, just to make it a little bit cleaner for you today. This is the dream client canvas, and we're going to be working on these different areas. Did I not go live on the Instagrams? There we go. Trying to get used to multitasking here, and welcome Instagrams. So this is what the dream client canvas looks like. We talked a little bit about last week here. We did the dream client piece up here, and that's what we were working on, and that's not what we're going to be doing today, right? So we're going to be talking about the crisis, which is a major part of the entire process. The entire thing is here. Like, this is the main blueprint. That's why I call it the canvas on how to market and get in front of people that want to work with you, but in a really cool way, in a heart-centered way, not in a pushy way, not funnels, anything like this. So the crisis is this major area that helps them understand that we know what they're talking about, or we understand them. And if we don't know the moment that they realize where they need help, we'll just be marketing to people that aren't ready yet. And I've seen this a billion times. Tonight, we're going to identify that crisis, and we're going to activate, or in the crisis that really activates their buying behavior. It doesn't mean that at this point they're ready to buy, but it is the point that they begin looking for some kind of help. And I've talked about this again and again and again about the unaware markets, the most aware markets, problem aware, solution aware from Eugene Schwartz. And I can't tell you how many people will tell me, if people only knew this, they would buy my stuff. And usually they're sitting in that, when they tell me that they're in that unaware market. Now, that's a lucrative market where you're trying to explain that people have to the person that they've got a problem, and they don't even recognize they have a problem. You could, it's not that it's impossible to do it, but it's a lot of work, time, money, energy, probably time, money, and energy you and I don't have. At least I don't have it. So I'd rather speak to people who are already understanding that they've got a problem, a crisis that they need to get solved. I call it the snake bite. They need to get to that hospital, and they need to get that poison out, right? It's not a mosquito bite. It's not something like, it's just kind of itchy. I can handle this. So it's a snake bite. And that's where the crisis comes in. It comes in over here. So this is where it's one triggering event. It's observable. It's not assumed. They have to be going through this. You can't speak to somebody who hasn't already experienced that snake bite. It's a breaking point. It's the realization that follows. It's one search behavior. I always ask the question, well, what does somebody go into Google to try to find you? Or now in the chat GPTs, what are they typing into the AIs about their problem? You should know that, because that's the crisis. And I'll give you some specific examples as we continue today. It's the verifiable from real conversations, DMs, or discovery calls. That's why I'm a huge proponent of having chats, email threads, that kind of stuff. And if I do discovery calls now, which don't happen a lot anymore because I'm usually in the chats a lot, those discovery calls are not conversion calls. You know how you were trained to do that kind of thing, where get them on a discovery call and try and sell them on your thing. Discovery calls really is a benefit for for me, and it could be for you, because you're discovering what it is about their situation, in their words, their language, all that stuff that helps you market to the market. So let's switch to discovery calls, and let's take advantage of it if we do get on a discovery call. Just another rant over there. So let's get back to this for a second. So here's what I want to do is I want to give you a pattern for identifying the crisis moment. Okay. Okay. So there is, let me see if this is all going to work. Elsie, is that how you pronounce your name? Elsie, good to have you here. Thank you for being here. So this is what it looks like. So this is a pattern. I'll give them here. Thank you on the Instagrams. This is the pattern you're looking for. You're looking for, one, a triggering event. I'm going to break these down in a minute. And you need two, which is a breaking point. Breaking point. Sorry, you can't really see this on the Instagrams. That kind of sucks. I don't know why. Let me see if I can do anything. Just notice that on the Instagram, you can't really see too much because you're not in the right, well, not you, but I'm not in the right frame. I wonder if I can change. Let me just see here. Let me just do this. Yeah, I should be able to do that. How's that? Let me move that around. Okay, there we go. Okay, so they got the breaking point. And then you've got number 3, which is search behavior. Search behavior. Okay, so what does this mean? So in the triggering event, it's like, what happened? That broke their pattern. And I just noticed I should be giving a little bit more room here. There we go. How's that? And let me do it one more time, just so we could have a little bit more room there, Joey. So what happened that broke the pattern? Okay. And again, on the Instagrams, you can't really see it too much. I'm trying to make it sit inside this area. I can't do that too much. I don't know how it's going to look on something outside of the Instagrams. If it's too small, let me know in the chat. Okay, so the breaking point is, what did they realize in that moment? And then finally, you want the search behavior. What did they do next? Search terms, like who they asked, what did they do, that kind of thing. So there's a template to all of this that you could, when you understand this stuff, here's what the template looks like. The crisis happens when, and I'll do a different color. Trigger event. And they realize breaking point, which leads them to search behavior. Okay, so that is like a framework that you want to be able to fill out. Because like I said, you got a triggering event. What happened that broke the pattern? Because you and I both know that our dream clients are in this pattern, this loop of doing almost the same thing over and over again. But then finally they decide, wait a second, something's not working. I need to go do this other thing, or I've discovered this other thing, or I've realized this other thing. And they get to this breaking point. Like what did they realize? What was that point? And this is the crisis where the crisis point is also what I call the bar stool moment. Is like, what happens if somebody sits beside you in a bar and they start talking to the bartender about the crisis, and like, what did they realize? What are they talking about? That's what the bar stool moment is. That's where the crisis begins. That's where you can enter the conversation again, not to just sell them right then and there, because too many marketers do that. They're like, hey, you got this problem? Great. I've got this thing, this solution or this product that's sitting in the back of my car. Would you like to come and buy it 50% off type of thing? That's not what I'm talking about. The crisis is when the conversation opens for you. And sometimes it can happen really fast to go from the crisis all the way to buy, but usually not. But that's a great point for where you showcase that you understand them in a way that nobody else understands them. Okay. So this is the template. The crisis happens when, did I get that? There we go. The crisis happens when, no, did I go back to that? Yeah, there we go. The crisis happens when the trigger event happens, and then they realize the breaking point, which then leads them to a searchable behavior. Okay. Actually, you know what I can do? I don't even have to move that, because I can just make this the way it was. Messing with my, there we go. Just so you can see it on the Instagram, because I know that it's a little bit more difficult to see that. And now I can just bring it back full screen for y'all that are watching everywhere else. Good to see you. Cool. If you have a question, by the way, let me know. Hashtag live or hashtag replay. If you aren't watching, let me know what you are watching live or on the replay. And so let me get to the next pieces here. So the thing that we want to look at is, I'm going to give you a couple of examples on how this actually works. So let's say that we have an example one. Example one is, it's like a fuzzy example of this, a fuzzy way of describing what the crisis would be, is they have an audience. So this is what happens when I'm coaching people, right? So they have an audience, but struggle with sales. Now, this one here is where anybody could be in that category, right? So it's, if they have this, they have an audience, but they struggle with sales. What's really the breaking point here, because you're looking for specifics, the breaking point is they built a Facebook group. I'm just making this up, right? Built Facebook group of, let's say 1,500 members over 6+ months. Okay. But then they struggle to convert them. And then they also want to know how to serve without prostituting themselves. Do you see how specific that is? And then the search behavior that brought this on might be, search behavior is that they reached out for coaching. Right? They DM'd me and talked a little bit about this. Like, I can't find, let's say they're here, I struggle with sales. And the breaking point is like when you're asking questions, and I'm going to give you like a sheet that you could have with all these templates in it, and also a conversation starter or a conversation where you can uncover really what is the breaking point for them. So all you got to do is DM or comment the word crisis, and I will send you the Google Doc. There's no opt-in or anything like that. Don't worry about it. But it'll give you all the notes that I'm writing out here, because I've got a whole bunch of notes in front of me. Plus, it'll give you a whole bunch more. Very, very worthwhile. DM the word crisis to me wherever you're watching this, or comment crisis, and I'll get back to you and send you the Google Doc. Okay. So if they reached out for coaching to me, let's say, then that is a searchable behavior, asking specifically. Let's say they reached out for coaching. Oops. Get rid of that. Asking about conversion, or in my case, asking about heart-centered sales. See, so that to me is a crisis point for them. They've been trying so much to make conversions, make sales, and all of that, and then they're reaching out to me, DM, email, and say, I've watched your stuff, or I don't want to be a salesperson. I don't want to prostitute myself. I don't want to be pushy, that kind of thing. But I'm still having trouble converting the people that I have in my Facebook group, right? Or I'm still having trouble with sales. And I would dig further and ask these questions and uncover, in that case, that they've got this 1,500 member Facebook group that's not converting. Get into a conversation on, well, what are you doing in there? Like, what does that look like? Does that make sense? And so that's the trigger point for them. That's the crisis point where it starts the conversation with me. Okay. And this is what is you want to fill out. So it would be for you that you're doing trigger event. What broke the pattern? What broke the pattern? The breaking point. Breaking point. What they realized. Then you want the search behavior. Let me just talk to the search behavior in a second. What they did next. And then proof source. Proof source is something that we can collect, like a DM or a call note or a comment link. Right? Is something that when you're gathering the data, that you can physically see that they've been looking for the solution. That's what this is for. So you got exercises. I'm going to give you these all on a Google Sheet, just so we don't spend time like me writing all this stuff out. Comment the word crisis or DM me the word crisis, and I will give you the Google Sheet that I just created for you with a whole bunch of great stuff. It's got streamlined, it's got exact phrasing for you. I'm looking at now, it's got coaching prompts that you can read verbatim for identifying crisis moments, like basically triggering event. I'll give you some examples here, which is what happened right before you decided you needed help with this. Breaking point, what did that moment make you realize about your current approach? Here's some evidence. Can you show me the exact message or post where you said that? Right? So you're looking for these evidence things, and I'm giving you all these in a Google Sheet, a Google Doc that you can use on your own. All you got to do is, like I said, comment the word crisis, and I will give that to you. Thank you for being here. And who just joined? Okafi? Did I mention that? Did I say that right? Welcome on the Instagrams. If you're here live, let me know. That would be great. So the exercises, what you're trying to do is go from a false crisis to a real crisis. So you're listing two moments where they say they need help, but they don't follow through. and then you're going to list a moment where they can actually take action. What's different? So I'm giving you all these exercises as well, just as if I was coaching you live. So if you want the crisis worksheet, DM me crisis, and I'll send it along with the Dream Client Canvas form from episode number 1. So you have that as well. And that's it. I'm hoping that this made things a little bit clearer for you. As I said, we are moving on. Let me go back to my iPad. We are working on this here client canvas. We've got 7 episodes. We are in episode number 2, which is right here. We are right here, episode number 2. We've already done the Dream Client Canvas. The Dream Client Clarity over here. And there is a worksheet for both of them. So if you want them, DM me the word crisis, and I'll get it to you. Thanks for being here live. See you again next week for episode number 3. And episode number 3 is problems and pain. That comes with also with the connection. All these major pieces in the middle, like number 2, like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 3. So 3 pieces of it are going to be talking about the marketing, because I get a lot of questions about how to market to people. And this is what we're talking about. The crisis, you want to know the problems and the pains, and you want to know the desires and the needs. That's super, super important, which comes up in episode number 4, 2 weeks from now. I'll see you next week for Heart Centered Marketing. Thanks.